Hey everyone, Saul from Three Kingdoms Games here. So War of the Sparks spoiler season started. Now, if you haven't seen it on Sunday, Wizards kicked this off in a huge way. They had this amazing trailer come out, which used this great rendition of In the End, and showed what looked like the turning point in the battle against Bolas. You saw lots of sparks flying, so odds are this is their way of hinting at Planeswalkers are going to die. And this feels like it's going to be as epic as it needs to be to wrap up this story with Bolas appropriately. Now, a ton of cards have been spoiled, so I'm going to go over some of them today. I will be going over all the cards through this video series, but for now, today I'm going to be focusing mostly on just the Planeswalkers they've spoiled. Now, they're doing 3 levels of Planeswalkers this set. So you have Uncommon, Rare, and Mythic. Now, this is the first time you've seen Rare, let alone Uncommon, in a long time. First time Uncommon ever. Rare, last time you saw it was before Alara block when they introduced the Mythic rarity. So, first up we have the Wanderer. This is one of those unknown characters that was spoiled in just the stained glass images. Some people think it's Elsbeth. Anyways, so it's 4 CMC for 5 loyalty. It prevents all non-combat damage to you and other Planeswalkers you control. So it cuts off people's burn package if they're in mono red. So that's pretty huge. As well as -2, exile target creature with power 4 or greater. Again, 4 CMC with a removal, and it might cut off a bunch of their hand, is pretty strong. It makes it an immediate threat they have to deal with. Next up we have Teo the Shield Mage. So 3 CMC, 5 loyalty. I called it. I said he's probably going to do something with like force fields or shields or something. And so what he does is he gives you hexproof, so Leyline of Sanctity, as well as -2. It produces a white creature that's a 0/3 wall. So essentially a diamond wall. I think it's really cool. I think it's also cool that all the Planeswalkers in this set feel a lot more balanced than the past Planeswalkers, because it's been a problem for a long time where they're either super overpowered or super underpowered. I also think it's interesting how you have this constant minus effect, and that the fact that the uncommon Planeswalkers are just essentially anthems with minus effects is really strong. I think that's a really smart decision on Wizards' part. As well as non-mythic Planeswalkers only have 2 abilities. So the first rare Planeswalker, Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, that we're going to look at, is 4 CMC, 4 loyalty, and it's an alternate win con for blue. If you deck yourself and you were to draw a card, you win. So it's a Laboratory Maniac as an anthem. +1, he Thought Scours. Target player discards the top 2 cards of their deck, and you draw a card. So you do it to yourself, that's 3 cards that you're going through. And he's the exact same CMC as the Laboratory Maniac and the Thought Scour. So good balance on him that way. And then if you -8, draw 7 cards, and you win if you deck yourself through this effect. First of the Mythic Planeswalkers we're going to look at is Liliana, Dread Horde General, 6 CMC, 6 loyalty. Whenever a creature you control dies, you draw a card. Again, huge if you're trying to run her in some kind of zombie recursion strategy. 6 CMC, though, is a bit much to pay for her, because if you're in those strategies, you're trying to wrap up the game by this point, but that might help you also gain steam to like refill your hand and keep pressing. +1, you get a 2/2 zombie. -4, each player sacrifices 2 creatures. So you -4, kill 2 of your creatures, draw 2 cards, and each of your opponents has to sack 2 creatures, which is huge if you're trying to use any of the effects that make people sack Planeswalkers, which there are a couple in this set. And then -9, each opponent chooses a permanent of each type, so 1 card of each permanent type, and sacks the rest. Pretty big. This is a pretty huge card. Next up is Ob Nixilis, the Hate Twisted. And sorry if I'm looking down a lot, there's a lot of notes that I need to make sure I'm covering on this set. And just this many Planeswalkers, it's ridiculous having to cover all this stuff. So, Ob Nixilis the Hate Twisted is a 5 CMC, 5 loyalty. Whenever you draw a card whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose a life. That's pretty big. That's a pretty common theme, though, for black decks. To hate on people drawing cards. It's been something they've done before. Underworld Dreams, for those of you who know what that is. -2, destroy target creature. Its controller draws 2 cards. So it's a forced draw with a removal. And again, 5 CMC for a removal spell that's going to punish them for 2 damage. Not the worst thing in the world. Next up, Davriel Rogue Shadow Mage. For those of you who didn't see the past videos, I'm really hyped to see this card. And I think they did it some justice. I knew it wasn't going to be a major character. But anyways, so 3 CMC, 3 loyalty. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if they have 1 or fewer cards in their hand, it deals 2 damage to them. So it's Shrieking Affliction on a Planeswalker. And then -1, target player discards a card. So it fits in that theme of trying to take away thoughts or spells from their mind. So kind of cool. I like it. I think Esper's got a big boost in this set. And we're going to see how well that plays out. Tybalt, Rakish Instigator. 3 CMC, 5 loyalty. Opponents can't gain life. This is huge. So we actually have a Tybalt that doesn't suck. That's pretty awesome. And then -2, you get a 1/1 Devil that whenever it dies, deal 1 damage to any target. Pretty huge. I think that's great. Now, we have Vivian, Champion of the Wild. She is, again, a rare Planeswalker, so she has 2 abilities. 3 CMC, 4 loyalty. You may cast creature spells as though they have flash. That's a really strong thing with the green ramp that you can get going. Also, with like Galta and things still out there, you can run into a 2-mana Galta when you don't think they have anything, which is pretty freaking ridiculous. +1 until your next turn. Up to 1 of your creatures gains Vigilance and Reach. Pretty strong again. This means that you can shut out some of these flying strategies. You might be able to actually give, mono blue an issue with this because now you can deal with their flying creature or they can't swing in. It might prevent them from wanting to come in, but then you still can swing back with big stuff. -2, exile the top 3 cards of your... look at the top 3 cards of your library. Exile 1 of them. If it's a creature card, you may cast it as long as it remains exiled this way. Pretty big. I like it. Now, here's one I found interesting. Arlen, Voice of the Pack, was not a dual-color Planeswalker. I thought she would have been. But apparently not. She's 6 CMC, 7 loyalty. Whenever a creature that's a werewolf or a wolf would enter under your control, they enter with an additional +1 counter. Not bad if you want to try to do a werewolf strategy. Fortunately, there's not really anything in standard to support this, but they also always have to think about casual and fun play. As well as -2, you create a 2/2 green wolf token. Now, we have a new Teferi, Time Raveler. Teferi's interesting, because he's not as broken as Hero of Dominaria, and I'm happy that he's not as broken as Hero of Dominaria. His Anthem effect, though, is that your opponents can only cast stuff at sorcery speed. So this does hurt if you can stick this against a control deck, because you've now cut out a lot of their hand. He's only 3 CMC with 4 loyalty. His +1 is your sorceries gain flash effectively till end of turn. Sorry, till the start of your next turn. As well as -1, you can, -3, return 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand and draw a card. So it's a 3-cost, 4 loyalty, has a bounce built in, will slow them down, and you can give your sorceries flash, so you can flash board wipe them on their turn. Yeah, never mind. Broken still. Kind of busted. Teferi, not a fun Planeswalker. Now, the Planeswalker that they didn't show you before, which ended up being the buy-a-box, is Tezzeret, Master of the Bridge. He's a 6 CMC for 5 loyalty, and he has probably one of the most ridiculous Anthem effects in my opinion, but I know he's 6 CMC, is what a lot of people are saying. But he gives all your creatures and planeswalkers affinity for artifacts. This is an ability that came out of one of the standards that had the most banned cards in it, partially because of this ability. So putting that on something that gives it to everything else in your deck is kind of ridiculous. Now, for +2, deal X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of artifacts you control, and you gain X life. Okay. That's a pretty big tempo swing. -3, return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. That's not as big a deal. You're giving up 3 loyalty to do this. And -8, exile the top 10 cards of your library, and put all artifacts into play that are in these 10 cards. So, he's huge, he's busted. I don't know if he's as busted as Nexus of Fate was, but that's a pretty nutty buy a box. So, good on you, Wizards. Keeping up with this weird buy a box promo stuff where they're really up and down. Next up, we have Ajani the Great-Hearted. Now, I thought Ajani would have had more like a mythic, not a rare in the set, because Ajani and Bolas are like their stories have been tied together for so long. You know, you have the whole Ajani Vengeance and him going, toe to toe with Bolas. Yes, Bolas was weakened, I know, but I thought he would have been more than this. Not that he's bad or anything. So 4 CMC, 5 loyalty, Ajani the Great-Hearted. Creatures you control gain vigilance. Not bad. +1, you gain 3 life. Again, they're kind of going back to the roots of what Ajani used to do with that. Ajani was more of like a life gain kind of thing back in the day. So kind of cool to see it get back to that. And then -2, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker you control. Other planeswalkers you control for that last half of it. So, not bad. I think it's kind of cool. So, we're also going to see some of the uncommon planeswalkers that are multicolor have hybrid mana. And this is the first time we've seen a hybrid mana planeswalker, to my knowledge. So, Kaya, Bane of the Dead, 6 CMC, 7 loyalty. You get to ignore your opponent's hexproof for your spells and your abilities. That is huge. So, Commander, right away, I'm already seeing some nonsense you can do with this. -3, exile target creature. So 6 CMC, removal, and ignoring their hexproof. I see this as a one-of in sideboard as a direct answer for Esper to things like Carnage Tyrant, because I drop in and just blow up your Carnage Tyrant. And then I still have a body left over to do more stuff with if I want to. Like, it can do 2 removals if you have nothing else, no other way of getting to it. So that's pretty cool. Next up, we have Vraska Swarm's Eminence. 4 CMC, 5 loyalty. Whenever a Death Touch creature you control deals combat damage to a player, it gets a +1/+1 counter. And then -2, again, Vraska, though, I'm going to say this right now, is one of those ones I thought would have had a higher rarity card given her importance to the story with the whole memory trigger plan that she has with Jace on trying to kill Bolas. But anyways, -2, you create a 1/1 Black Assassin with Death Touch that if it deals damage to a Planeswalker, just destroys that Planeswalker. So, pretty big, pretty huge right there. Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner, 3 CMC, 7 loyalty. Whenever you cast a power 4 or greater creature, draw a card. That's pretty strong. I like it. I think that's more of a commander thing, but, you never know. Maybe someone's going to do something crazy with it in Standard. And for -1, untap target permanent. Overall, not a bad card. I think it's more of a fun card. And then finally, we have Samut, Tyrant Smasher. So she's definitely going to be trying to smash Bolas' face, is what that sounds like. 4 CMC, 5 loyalty. Creatures you control have haste. Okay, so for 4 CMC, creatures you control have haste. Not horrible, not great, but... And then -1, target creature you control gets +2/+1 and gains haste till end of turn, and you scry 1. So, not bad overall. Pretty good card. So there you have it. That was part 1 of the War of the Spark spoiler season. I'm going to be working on part 2 pretty much as soon as I finish editing this video. As always, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Easy way to support us in everything we do. Comment below. Tell me what Planeswalkers you are hyped for. I'm always curious to see what, the community is looking forward to. You can follow us on all major social media. That's in the description box below. You can follow our blogs at threekingdomsgames.com, as well as you can always drop into store. There's one in Markham and one in Toronto. See you next time.